my mistake was that I handed these out way early and said we'll pick them up in 10. And then people, anyway, I should have just waited handing them out last week. But I was trying to be, for once in my life, ahead of the game. It didn't pay off this time. So then, when we started last week, going through, I was referencing page 6. Okay? And this is the list that I gave you that we'll pick up in chapter 10. Okay? So, this part, we're transitioning away from the week-by-week outline, which we did that in 9. We started transitioning away from that. And so to come to chapter 10, what we have is what I just showed, and that is these. We got 25 topics from the book of Proverbs. Okay? And so that's what this table of contents is. And so this is going to be, and so we're going to kind of start over like we did last week. We won't spend as much time talking about the verse we talked about them last week, but we're going to try to see how this applies to this section. So, this is my last one, but I can start the printer right now. I tried to print extra. Does anybody need one of these tonight? Okay. Does anybody need a table, just a table of contents?
How big do you think your size is?
Is that that? Okay. So, what we will do, what the design of this is go to Proverbs chapter 10, as big of a, what do you call these things? Where as big as this is, some days it's still too small. Podium? I don't know. Go in there. This big. Touched it. Okay, chapter 10, verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, a wise son makes glad a father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother. Okay, so this is where your table of contents comes in. And so you may want to pull it out and keep it loose. I thought about folding mine up, however works for you, right? And then tuck it away at the end of Bible class, however works for you. But the design of this is, if I kept handing out the chapter by chapter worksheets or notes every week, and you wanted to study, we've got these 25 different topics. And let's say that, hey, I need some home life advice from the book of Proverbs. And down here, that's 18. Well, if I hand out the chapter by chapter, which is fine, but you'd have to go through and study all that to get all that. So the design of this is when we get to verses that have to do with home life, finance, children and parents, wisdom, then you'll have a topical study from the book of Proverbs you can reference. So that's the idea. I hope it works as it's designed. So we look at a wise son makes glad a father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother. And so then I asked last week, I said, what section would you put this under? That's why I tried to have you reference back to page 6. I should have had a table of contents for you from the beginning. 21. So, what's that? 21. 21? Yeah. Is there right or wrong answers?
But then you should use numbers.
Which one's 21?
I didn't think about that.
XXI? Roman numerals?
100 years ago, Roman numerals worked great. All right. You can pencil them in. These are your notes. You can do A, B, C, all the way to almost Z, right? All the way to Y. All right. So, Kathy, this sounds like a quiz or bingo, doesn't it? 21. All right. Why would Kathy say 21? Because that section deals with what?
Parents worrying about the children.
Okay. Parents worrying about the children. So then, I'm trying to do this, which I think you guys understand where I was trying to go last week, but I didn't explain very well. So then you pull out this section, right? So this is a blank so we can start fresh. So then what I would do here is I would write Proverbs, because this is the first verse, Proverbs 10, verse 1, and then any notes that you want to put next to it. Now you have that verse reference for parents and children. So I put Proverbs 1. And so what would you want to put there? You know? So any notes that would apply. Then, and so really as we go through this, I really believe that, at least for me, as I go, hopefully, you know, I go back and reference this. You know, I keep my binders. I go back, and then when I study this next time, I could write corresponding verses in other parts of the Bible that deal with parenting, make notes regarding this verse, examples. And so this is designed to, as we go through this, we'll go through this and put the verses in the different topics that they apply under. And then really, this is for a lifelong study. This is what this is designed for. So I hope it helps. You may want to just throw it out the window, and that's fine too. Just sit in the pew and nod. Anyway, all right. So, any other sections that might apply to? There's one up here. No. You need not take. Well, that's what I said about this. Because I've still got to do notes as we go through the verses to break them up in sections so we can write them in. Anyway, it's going to be, this is a learning experience, right? This is Bible class, so the teacher's learning too. All right. Any other sections that this might apply to? I put section 15, talking about a good name. Because when we look at this, a wise son makes glad a father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother. What's that wise son going to have? For him, and it's going to be passed on to who? His father, because of the life that he's living. So that might be a reference for you. Section 18 also I thought about, could apply, because this just deals with home life, right? How important is child rearing? And when you look at verse 1, a wise son makes glad the father, how much of his upbringing has to do with that? A lot. And there's always an exception to the rule, right? A poor upbringing can produce good children somehow, and good upbringing produce poor children. That happens, right? Okay. Also, I put 21. We got 21 already. That's one of the first ones. 7. I put down 7, the human heart and self-control. You have an example of two types of children. You have one type of child that learned self-control and one that didn't. Okay? All right, any more? Are we fresh to the table of contents? I think we'll be very familiar with them by the time we're done. All right, then I broke up. We went to verse 2, but I put 2 through 5 in a section. Some of your Bibles may have a paragraph break there, but then I subdivided them from that. So verse 2, treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivers from death. And so under verse 2, I put maybe section 17. You want to write that verse in 17? Generosity and greed, because treasures of wickedness profit nothing. Wickedness is always a result of pride, isn't it? Pride or desire, wanting to do what I want to do. Okay. Adam and Eve in the garden, we go back and we look at the example of Eve in Genesis 3. One of the things, Satan sold her a lie. What was the lie? One of the lies was you will become as what? Gods. Okay. And she wanted to be better than that, what she was. God created her in his own image. But because of her pride, she wanted more than that. Okay, so that might apply. Section 13, also put here. Section 13, industry and laziness. Treasures of wickedness. A lot of crimes, or some crimes, are a result of what? Laziness. People don't want a job, don't want to do, so that might apply. Maybe section 12. Poverty and wealth. Treasures of wickedness profit what? Nothing. And is this just in the physical? If we look at the long term into the spiritual, we step way outside the physical. But is there any profit in that? No, because when you look at the second half, it said, but righteousness delivers from what? Death. If we look at Proverbs 14:34, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is reproach to any people. If we were to go back to the book of Genesis and look at the example of Sodom and Gomorrah, you have a nation, actually cities of the plain, that were destroyed, physically destroyed because of their what? Wickedness. Okay. And so if we do something bad, how many times have we, as members of the church, invited somebody to services or to study, and they say the building would fall in if I came, or lightning would strike? Have you ever had that? I've had lots of people tell me things like that. Is that true? No, that's not true. That's not the way God works today. But what we see here is righteousness delivers us from what? Especially spiritual death. Okay. Any more comments about that? I jumped ahead to...
Two and three talks about their gains that you get in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But then the 4 and 5 is laziness, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, slack hand becomes 4. Yep. Laziness. You put 4. 5. Oh, section 17. I put 17. I think we talked a little bit about that. And that was generosity and greed from verse 5. He who gathers in summer is a wise son. That's not the one I was thinking of. I'm trying to follow my notes and I got a glitch here. Okay. Any more comments? 4 through 5? This is conversation. Hey, watch it. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right, 6 and 7. Verses 6 and 7. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the righteous is blessed, but the name of the wicked will rot. Blessings are on the head of the righteous. Any section that might fall under? Okay. Maybe a good name. That'd be a good place. Blessings. And then, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. We can put those. Those are a contrast with one another, aren't they? I put section 2. Okay. I'm sorry. I felt bad going home last week. I said, I did not do very well at explaining. I had it all in my mind. I was ready. And everybody's, where are we at? All right. Section 2, the folly of fools. Right? The folly of fools.
What about
11, the tongue. Yep. But violence covers the mouth of the wicked. That's what they're about. That could. Like I say, there's no right or wrong. Put this, in the sections. And a lot of these apply to multiple sections, don't they? What's...
TV tray. We need TV tray.
Dave West has a deal that hangs off of his pew. A little flip-down desk. That's pretty neat. Section 1, table of contents. Every verse is wisdom, isn't it? So that's a broad section. 15, a good name again, a good reputation, especially because of verse 7 there. Any more comments? Okay, verse 8. The wise in heart will receive commands, but a prating fool will fail. What's it mean to receive commands? What's another word for commands? Instruction. Okay, look at this. So when you look at this, a wise heart will receive commands, but a prating fool will pride. You could put section 3, because pride could get in the way of that, right? Any others?
Well, prating fool is idle or useless.
Idle or useless. Yeah, you can put it there. Put it there. Okay.
So that would be under laziness too, wouldn't it?
I didn't think about that one. Didn't think about that one. Also, section 24, the words of the wise. What are we listening to? Wisdom. They're not listening to wisdom, wise instruction. All right, we're on the right track. Verse 9, he who walks with integrity walks securely, but he who perverts his ways will become known. Section 7, self-control, right? That's a big condition. What about some other verses that might, or in other sections? Wisdom, number 1.
24.
Words of the wise. Yeah. And I'm going to say, and you'll realize this as we keep going, you're going to have some sections that are much fuller than others. That's okay, right? And that's where we can add a slip of paper in there to add to it as we keep going. Okay. Verse 9, I also wondered about, where is it? 22, the nation. The nation. He who walks in integrity walks securely. As a nation, are we walking in integrity? Is there a lot of security in that? I don't think there is, so that's another one that you might want to put there. Okay. Any more comments about verse 9? All right, we'll go verse 10. He who winks with the eye causes trouble, but a prating fool will fail. Similar to the last verse, but different. Another proverb. He who winks with the eye. What's it mean to wink with the eye? Is it wrong to wink? What's a wink normally mean? It's a sign of maybe mischief. That's what I thought of. Okay. I thought of maybe section 3 in pride. Right? Get a wink. The prideful attitude causes trouble. Any others? I was also looking at sections 9 and 10 as a prelude into those, right? Might think about that. Say those might be warning signs. Okay. All right.
Number 2 might be one of those too.
The folly of fools? Yeah. I think the folly of fools is going to be a full one. Wisdom. Just write everyone in wisdom. Everyone in wisdom. Okay.
Everything relates back to wisdom pretty much.
Yeah, everything does, And there's some verses that we're going to see just really fit best there because they're so broad in their statement as we keep going. All right. 11, the mouth of the righteous is a well of life, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. The mouth of the righteous is a well of life. 11, that'd be a good section. Any others? I thought about parents and children. Because a good parent is going to be what? Yeah. Their mouth is going to be trying to guide their children. And you think about that, will be a well of life. If we as parents are teaching our children what we ought to be teaching, then they're going to have blessings associated with that. So that was one I put. But violence covers the mouth of the wicked. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Anger, so that'd be section 4. That's a good one. Okay. All right, any more? Am I? Yes. Okay. All right, so verse 12. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all sin. Does love cover all sin? You might write next to this verse in the section we're going to put it is 1 Corinthians 13, right? The problems they were having in Corinth were a result of a lack of love. And if the congregation had the love they needed, did it mean that just if they loved, they'd automatically go to heaven? No, when they loved, then everything else fell into place the way it was supposed to. And so that's what 1 Corinthians 13 is about. So as we think about that, we're asking what sections to put this under. Section 12 be 6, hatred. Hatred stirs up strife. So that'd be section 6. Any others that would fall under that? Pride, yeah, I wondered about pride. The other one that I thought about was section 7. Section 7. Okay.
Pride's part of the reason we don't love each other.
Pride's one of the reasons we don't. That's a good
Part
point.
of this,
That's a good
the
point.
thing that gets in the way.
And the reason I thought about hatred, which would hatred and self-control. Self-control is an emotion. Excuse me. Hatred is an emotion. Love is an emotion. Whether we hate someone or love someone is because of what? My self-control towards that situation, right? And so, we're commanded to love, aren't we? Husbands are commanded to love their wives. We're commanded to love each other, and that's in 2 Peter 3, 5, or 2 Peter 1, 5 through 8. As we talk about those things that build one on another, you have brotherly kindness and agape love. Love is a command. I thought about, when someone says, I fell out of love. You hear that sometimes you have couples that are going through difficult times. They say, I fell out of love. Why did they fall out of love? What's that? They got discontent because they chose not to love anymore. Right? And most of the time when you see that progression is someone falling out of love, and you look at couples going through difficult times, what's that love turn into? Hate. That's what I thought about. And that's because of the lack of self-control. Say we've got to stop before we get past that point. So anyway, so that's what I was thinking on 12. But love covers all sin. Okay, we got a few minutes. 13, wisdom is found in the lips of him who has understanding, but a rod is for the back of him who is devoid of understanding. Where do we think this is the first place to go? 21. Why would it be 21? Okay, 21. Yeah, when we look at this, but, that rod, what's that?
I think
Wisdom?
wisdom also.
That could be a good place.
If you don't understand, you don't use it in the right way, then you're going to be punished.
Wisdom is found in the lips of him who has understanding, but a rod is for the back of them or him who is devoid of understanding. Where in the world does it mention parents and children? I'm not saying we can run around smacking people. I think one of the comedians I listened to when I was younger talked about, don't you wish you could have the small end of a skinny fishing pole and you could whack somebody in the back of the neck? I think it might have been Jeff Foxworthy. We can't do that. The nature of God. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, devoid of understanding. They rejected the nature of God. That's really not the nature of God, but it's an attribute. We know that what the nature of God is wisdom, and so they've rejected that. I thought maybe section 24. Maybe say the words of the wise. All right. I think we're on to something here. We got it figured out. All right, 14. Oh, go back to 13. Again, what I say is this is teaching the chastening. What's chastening? Attitude adjustment. Okay, that's I didn't think about that one when I was thinking about this verse. We're talking about correction, right? Correction. And so the rod represents authority, chastening. Okay. A lot of times when you go work cattle or work livestock, what do you have? Some type of a rod. And and that's to guide and to steer. This absolutely applies to parents and children and their relationship, but it applies to those who reject knowledge and understanding, need to have some form of authority to guide them back in the right way. Yeah. Do you think that a jail or our judicial system could represent a rod here, or could be a symbol of the rod? Yeah. Okay. To guide them back. Anyway, think about that. Okay, 14, we're almost out of time. Verse 14. Wise people store up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. Any sections you'd like to? 24. I think, yeah, we're going to see a run on 24 here for a little bit. 24. What about the nation? Could that apply to having a successful nation?
What's the difference between 1 and 24?
1 and 24. Probably those who are saying wise things versus just wisdom statements. Okay. It's the who versus the what. Oh. And that's what I say. You guys may add new subjects. We may start putting 26, 27, 28 in here. And that's okay. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. So 14, wise people store up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. And so get yourself in trouble. Be careful what you say. Also the tongue, which would be section 11. We might need to put 11 there.
Reason 12 kind of speaks to me too, purely because we're laying out wisdom instead of wealth.
Well, that's good.
Wisdom is more precious than wealth.
That's
it's
good.
not direct, it's very vague.
That's very theological. Yeah, that's good. Okay, we'll go ahead and break. We got a couple minutes. All right, so we'll pick up in 15 next week. So I think we're on a roll, and we'll keep going through these. And some of these will be just a little bit larger section. But do we see the contrast between chapter 10 and the first 9 chapters? Actually, when I started Proverbs, I was most excited about getting to chapter 10. And if I thought about it'd be fun just to do the introduction and then go to chapter 10. But, all right, thanks for your time.